Hey folks, what's going on? I'm coming to you from New York City. Beautiful weather today, so right after this, I'm getting outside. But we're going to do another Guess the Eval, where we actually look at positions at move 20 and try to evaluate what's going on, aka the eternal question of who's better and why. I purposely picked two games from the Reykjavik Open that's actually going on right now. Partially because I like the Reykjavik Open. I've played a number of times. It's an awesome place to play. Look up the Harpa Concert Hall. That's actually where it's played. It's a very awesome, Great Gatsby-esque space. But also getting games that are very recent, these games are actually played today, gets you a feel for what's going on in the chess world. And I purposely picked two draws because not all games that actually end in a draw are equal the whole time, and I think it's a really good way to actually see that, bear that out. So again, I have not seen the evals in advance. I know the game resulted in a draw, but I have not seen the evals in advance. I just tried to find positions that I thought looked interesting, so that we'd have something fruitful to discuss. So anyway, this first game is between International Master Karen Gifrith and Grandmaster Emre Khan from Turkey. Karen actually is from New York. I'm familiar with him. Let's zip through to move 20. I'm going to show you the opening just because people sometimes like stuff like that. And we have a Sicilian Najdorf, very sharp position. I'm hitting the keypad a little bit more. And then finally, this is move 20 and the queen and knight are hanging. So I'm going to make one more move or a few more moves just to make sure the pieces aren't hanging. But knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen d4, and here we go. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here after knight f6, and the knight is defended, the bishop is defended now. Nothing is hanging, and we can see what the deal is. So we're on move 22, not move 20. It is white to move, and the question is who's better and why. So, first thing I'm looking at is the material. Black has 6 pawns, and white has 5, actually. So black is up a pawn. Also, king safety. This king potentially has a back rank issue because there's no escape square made. This king has an escape square, but the king really, when you castle long, normally likes to be on b1. There's no back rank issue that could be taken advantage of right now. I do think the king on c1 is a little bit airy. Usually this king's on b1. Even if it's on b1, there's this bishop on f5 bearing down. I don't like this king safety dynamic here. What else? I really hate this bishop on d1 if we're talking about the quality of the piece placement. This knight is pretty decent, although this knight on f6 might be more stable, just being firmly protected by a pawn. This bishop on d1 is a very passive piece, so I don't love that. So I prefer black's pieces a little bit more, this knight and bishop, than white's knight and bishop. I prefer the king safety that black has a little bit more, and black is up a pawn. So, and this is a central pawn at that, a pawn that might, be very, very influential. So, is it hard to push? Yes. It might be blockaded for the time being, but I think if black gets the pieces out, maybe like queen c7, rook d8, or queen c7, rook c8, you might start to mobilize that pawn eventually. Of course, black also needs to create some escape square, maybe h6. g6 you can't do because the knight is hanging. I'm going to say black is better here, and I'm going to say black is, safer king. I'm going to give that probably like 0.3, 0.4 probably, because neither king is really attacked. Maybe 0.2. I'm going to give the extra pawn as a central pawn. I'm going to give that like maybe minus 0.7 or so. And I do like the minor pieces better. So I think we're talking about overall like a -1 evaluation based upon all these factors. The queen is really well centralized, and this rook on a8 is passive, so it's not, the heavy pieces for white are arguably better than black's heavy pieces, but I think all in all you still have to say that black is probably better just with this pawn. So I'm going to give it a -1 evaluation. Let's see what the truth of the position is here. Okay, so I did all right, actually. Black was significantly better. I did not think it was a winning evaluation yet, and the computer here is saying that it's minus 1.5. So that's like desperate times. That's usually when I say minus 1.5 or higher is winning for black. So, okay, so the computer's actually, it's with white to move, the computer's desperately arguing for g4 here, which is surprising, actually. That's a really desperate measure to try and very quickly shake the knight, shake the bishop, and try to win this pawn. If you make a stable passing move like king b1, again, yeah, queen c7, which I said, and then rook d8 is coming, and you can see that black gets to jump on white. And so white has to move pretty quickly, but black is very clearly in the driver's seat. So I'll take that eval. I'll take it. Not so bad. And let's see what happened the rest of the game, just for posterity. We had rook f1 and an exchange sacrifice. Wow. And then knight d7. Very alert from Karen to kind of shake the tree there. And now it's a total mess. Total mess. White has 3 pawns, 3 passed pawns on the queen side, and then trades queens. I don't know if I'd trade queens in that situation, but and now these pawns are running. You gotta like white now, and they repeat moves. Wow, I would prefer to be white now. I would have, if I was white here, I would have taken this bishop and then played like a5 and started to run those pawns. b4. This bishop can hold off the f pawn and maybe participate in supporting the pawns going forward. If it gets to e2, it's doing both jobs. So very kind of surprising repetition, but I actually like white now in the final position. And yeah, games go up and down sometimes. Emma is a higher rated player, so you know things happen, but very, very interesting game. Okay, next game. Next game was another draw. I'm just going to tell you in advance, right? I picked 2 draws today, and we're looking at another position from move. Let me flip the board. We're looking at another position at move 20, but we'll flip through it from the beginning. So we have an exchange Slav. Interesting. Some would say boring, but it can be interesting. We have some more exchanges. We're getting closer to move 20, and then boom, rook ac8. Queen a7, and now that was move 20, was queen a7. So we'll start from here. We'll flip it back to black. And is black to move on move 20, and who's better and why? Okay, so again, we're going to start with the pawns. So if we look at the pawns, both sides have 6 pawns, right? 4 pawns here, and then 2 pawns here. That's 6. So both sides have 6 pawns. White has double pawns. Sometimes double pawns can be a strength, sometimes it can be a weakness. This pawn is preventing black on f4, is preventing black from going forward and playing e5. But maybe it could be a target in the future, and it's not amazing. I do prefer black's pawn structure a little bit better. You have a nice long pawn chain, and you're influencing the center really well and really blocking out this bishop on f3, but also blocking out your own bishop on b7. But I also like these pawns because they make the knight on c3 have no jumping squares going forward. So I do like black's pawn structure better. King safety, I think both kings are pretty safe, castled. Both haven't made escape squares yet, so got to be wary of that. What else? Whose pieces are better? I do like black's knight and bishop better than white's knight and bishop, just because this knight can jump forward, but also they're kind of protected, and they just feel like more stable pieces with a little bit more potential. Although I'm pulling hairs here. The queen on a7 is pinning this queen on e7, so it is in both queens are kind of in a weird spot right now, but this queen is kind of in no man's land. It can be kicked pretty easily with rook a8. Who does a queen trade favor might actually be a question if the bishop moves and the queen isn't hanging. It might actually be black just because of the central control, and attacking the b2 pawn, the base of that chain, is actually easier than attacking the base of black's chain, which is on f7. So I think that would actually favor black a queen trade. And let's also consider that if you trade queens in some circumstances and you get the b pawn to push, then the knight on c3 becomes less stable. Although in the endgame, white might be able to play knight a4, b4, knight c5, and then maybe there's a different story. So both sides have their own plans. I feel like it's pretty equal. I mean, again, like, I guess the other thing you'd want to look at is just unprotected pieces. Again, the only pieces that are unprotected are the queens. Everything else is protected for both sides. So, I mean, these pawns are a bit loose. But when I talk about unprotected pieces, normally I am talking about the non-pawns. I think if I had to pick someone, I would probably pick black, just because this queen is in a weird place. This bishop is not very active. And if I was black here, I might play king f8, actually. It's a weird move, but I protect the queen, and I'm able to move the bishop, so it's not a real pin anymore if the king is protecting it. And if there is a queen trade, my king could then recapture on e7, and I'm closer to the action in the center. I also could see myself playing rook a8 just to chase the queen, but the queen probably would like to go somewhere else. It's not really doing any business there. This vision does look kind of equal to me, though. So I'm going to give it, I prefer black a little bit. I'm going to give black minus 0.3. Now, the tiniest of edges you can imagine, based upon slightly better pieces. So let's see where we are with that. I'm going to hit the engine in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it is literally 0.00. You did hear me kind of suggest that it was equal. I said minus 0.3, right? Didn't I say? Just to give a little bit of a Price is Right intrigue for folks that have heard of that show in the U.S. But it is a very equal position, and chess is an equal game sometimes when both sides play well. My move was going to be king f8. And king f8 actually gives white a slight advantage after knight a4. We discussed this plan of knight a4, b4, knight c5, and maybe that comes more into fruition if black is slow. The computer wants rook a8, knight e8, or queen d7. Queen d7 and knight e8 would be tricky moves to play in my view. Knight e8 is trying to relocate that knight to d6 to get to better pastures on the queen side. And it protects the bishop. Queen d7 makes the queen unprotected, and it covers the a4 square, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, that was it was equal position. Let's see how the game went. The rest of the game, we had a doubling of rooks, a trading of rooks, and then now black still has this back rank issue. White doesn't. You got to be a little careful here. White looks, like they're doing all right to me at the moment. I'm going to check here. Yeah, white is now a little better because now they might get their majority going. They have a good dark square grip. So maybe trading all the rooks was not a great idea, but it looks like it was a pretty pedestrian game with exchanges and then a draw. All right, so there you have it. We looked at two games, two positions. The first one, black was much better. The second one was equal, and they both turned out to be draws. If you do more evaluating like this, your chess game will improve, and we'll do more on this channel. And I might actually wind up analyzing some of the candidates' games, so stay tuned to that. All right, folks, have a good one. Enjoy your day wherever you are. Peace.